When my dad was in his 20s, he moved into a flat with his cousin that was above a newsagent's. His cousin Simon worked there, and the manager, Norman, would always tell him that the shop and flat above was haunted by Fred, the man who owned the shop and lived above it in the 50s and the 60s. Back then, it was a sweet shop. Love a sweet shop. Until Fred died. He died at home above the shop. And years later, a news agency bought the sweet shop along with the shop next door and the two flats above, which they converted into a big shop, as well as flats upstairs. So it was now one big flat. I hope that makes sense. The shop was made into a John Menzies, which my dad says was basically like a W.H. Smith. After moving in, my dad started to get a weird feeling like someone was watching him and would just feel uneasy at times. This would only ever happen when he was in one half of the flat, the half that was above where the sweet shop used to be. Weird things would occur, like the kettle would just start boiling on its own, or the stereo would switch itself on at random. My dad would come home and the grill would be on. Other times my dad would be sitting there and the TV would switch on. On one occasion, Simon's girlfriend was at the flat doing some ironing when a glass of wine flew off the table. Creepy things would go on that couldn't be explained. There was a glass partition between the kitchen and the living room. My dad said that he was just sitting on the sofa when he saw something on the glass out of the corner of his eye. Wondering what it was, he got up to investigate, to find a big smear that was 100% the outline of a face. He could literally see the eye socket, cheek and chin of the face as if it had been pressed right up against the glass, and this really freaked him out. My dad and his friends had been collecting beer cans and stacking them into a pyramid. It was stacked on a table in the dining room and had been there for days. One day, my dad was home alone and was sat on the sofa when he felt like he was being watched again. He got up and walked into the kitchen, muttering to himself, "There's no such thing as ghosts." When all of a sudden, the beer cans went flying across the room like someone had swiped them off the table with force. My dad just wanted it all to stop, so he said out loud, "Fred, I know that you're here and I'm sorry for what I said. I believe that your presence is here and I respect you." And just like that, my dad never experienced anything spooky again. He told his cousin Simon and his friend Liam all about all this, and they just thought he was getting himself at it and imagining it all. And one night they decided to play tricks on him when my dad was home alone. This is me and you. Liam and Simon snuck into the flat and turned off the electric and started banging around in the hallway downstairs. Then they snuck indoors through the back entrance of the flat and acted like nothing had happened. My dad had lost it at this point and was ready to go to the church and get the priest, so Liam and Simon had to calm him down and confess to him that it was only them messing with him. But they swore that they hadn't done anything prior to that, so my dad believes that everything that happened before was Fred making his presence known. My dad lived there for a while after this and he would speak to Fred regularly. He'd say, "Good morning, Fred," when he got up in the morning, and "Good night, Fred," when he was going to bed. He began to treat Fred like his flatmate, and I think Fred liked that. I believe that Fred was trying to protect his beloved sweet shop, and once my dad let him know that he respected him and he was content with him living there.